take the other AD carry in a lot of these scenarios. So I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to lock in a top laner for Flandre or something along these lines, but no, they are going to go straight for the Kalista. So Felio's here for Lwx. And they, oh, actually, of course, the Varus still left open.
Yeah, that's true. He's put a higher priority on this, and in the past, Misfortune as well. So, pick of the litter of AD carries at the very least.
We'll give a little bit more self-peel as well if we do see this Wukong or something along those lines of Bruiser go over towards Flandre.
But you know what as well? If we have a Varus, Crisp loves Tahm Kench. Probably won't play it, but I'm just going to say this. This was what the bottom lane was built on last year. And they can always go back there.
Could still go towards something like the Nautilus as well, the Tahm Kench. We've seen it paired with the Braum as well, which we just saw him bring out. Oh, and if they go with the Sejuani, you could definitely see it paired with the Braum. The Ice Age that they bring is really, really strong. But Tian, going back to what we asked for before this draft all commenced, an early game jungler where he can influence that mid lane.
Yeah, one of his most played up there with the Jarvan too. So for XX, remember without the Olaf, it's a new jungler for him this game. We haven't seen too much Zinzao actually.
I don't think we won't be seeing it.
We won't be, but it's fun. Shout out to Hara yesterday over Rogue Warriors who played the Phase Rush Graves jungle. They almost won. Almost being the
almost being, yeah, the big word there. But we will get XX locking in the Thresh for Duan down in the bottom lane. This is the go-to when Tarek's usually gone or not available. Thresh, Kalista, very obnoxious lane. Great engage, great disengage, and even the safety of the Lantern Fate's Call combo. So it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Tian after that level 6 is hit to try and make plays around this bottom side, but still definitely a potential when you've got the Jarvan who can make these level 2, level 3 plays.
In LNG last year, Duan's Thresh was one of my favorites, just to put out there. He had the most diverse champion pool out of any supports alongside Lumal. So it's kind of exciting to see him there again. Now, we mentioned it before as we see the Rek'Sai for XX. What's going into this bottom lane with Lwx's Varus?
Apathetics might be making a brief showing in this draft as he's called it for the Tahm Kench, and I think it will work wonders here, especially when you're unsure as to what is going to be coming through for the top and mid. Having that safety for the Varus is quite good. Braum still provides that safety though. Same idea.
Block away whatever you want here on the side of Crisp. So, alright, we don't get Tahm, but now we get a second ban phase. Now for FPX, both of these teams, actually, there's no solo laners up.
This is why I think FPX are going to start banning away the likes of the LeBlancs. The Azir is another one, but definitely LeBlanc here. We saw how much trouble they had with Maple in the last game on that pick. And we're seeing a very similar style where they'll struggle to lock Maple down with the Braum as the support.
LNG know that Doinb's most played is the Rumble. That's already banned away. On top of that, he's got so many mid laners. Doinb has played 15 champions mid. Now, Lissandra keeps getting banned away here. He played a lot last year.
This Lissandra sets up for the LeBlanc pick, which is then banned away, but it'll also be the Kassadin ban here for LNG. They're pretty much sticking to the same game plan that we saw in that last game, especially when Doinb has the counter pick here, which is usually what FPX lead is that last pick on the red side. They're a bit worried, I'd imagine, about that going across.
Remember last year, FPX was so successful on this red side as well. Solo lane counter pick. It was big for Invictus Gaming as well, and Top Esports. Those were the three teams, but Doinb has played a bit of Diana already. They're scared of that one, but you know what that means? We got a Kassadin open.
We do have a Kassadin open, and I was about to say, I'm curious to see actually, because I did say Doinb usually gets red side last pick, but it's not always the case when Khan is in.
True.
It is going to be Khan, well, potentially not. We have seen Doinb flex the Aatrox mid, so still flexibility there, but definitely a more Khan-esque pick locked in by FPX.
I know what you wanted to see. You wanted to see Flandre pick up Aatrox and then Khan go Fiora. Because that was a very real possibility. But, alright, Maple, his most played, and actually his best champion so far is the Zoe. Flandre now has his pick of the litter. What does he want to take potentially blind up into that top lane? Does he dare?
Yeah, I think he's just gonna... Ooh. I think he's just showing it. The Wukong, I think, is genuine. I think this could be the Wukong pick for Flandre. So, if this is the Wukong pick, I'd like to see Doinb going back towards this Kassadin. Wait for the late game scaling to come in. You've got enough of a mid game damage between Aatrox and Varus and your Jarvan to cover you in the early game. And yes, Kassadin will get shoved in this early stages, but can survive relatively well against the Zoe, because Zoe only really gets that one-shot potential when she hits her ultimate, but you don't have, or you have your own Rift Walk then at that point to avoid the Zoe damage.
Isn't it crazy that we see Kassadin now and we're not going, oh my lord, it's a Kassadin. It's like, Kassadin, of course, is a natural lock-in here. We've seen it blind, we've seen it counter-picked, and we've just seen it picked into many, many lanes. Doinb picked up the pentakill, his first pentakill of his competitive career weeks ago on this Kassadin. So let's go for round 2.
And this is where LNG now struggled to control overly much the early game in the last one. Yes, they had at least what was looking like the kill lead, but definitely when it came to golden towers, that was FPX favor. Now they need to step it up a notch, because there's a time bomb that's ticking down in that mid lane, and if they aren't able to get this early game lead, FPX will start to take over.
It's kind of, it's not the same drafts as game 1, but in the same sense, it's like FPX are mad, mutually assured destruction through this Kassadin yet again. Much like the Corki in game 1 in a similar sense. So for FPX, you know, playing towards these later stages, it's not always what we see, but then you have to look and say, well, FPX are pretty secure in their position here in the league, especially against LNG after that first game.
And don't forget, we've seen FPX start to mess around with these later scaling compositions.
True, yeah.
So this isn't something like is completely out of left field for us. This is something Doinb's played before. We've seen him bring in the Azir as well here. So this is now FPX again starting to flex their muscles a little bit and go, yeah, we got early game. Yeah, we got mid game. But boy, do we have late as well.
This is the 19th game of Kassadin in the league, by the way. 12 wins, 6 losses at 66% you saw in pick and ban. Kassadin wins games in the LPL more often than not. And Doinb taking it into game number 2. There's a bit of a flex here yet again. FunPlus Phoenix are currently 8-2. With a win here over LNG, they secure second right under Invictus Gaming. LNG want to stand their ground. They had game 1 in the bag. All they need to do is bring that consistency across the line here in the second game. It was sad. If you missed game 1, it was sad. It's very sad. Dagda's mic has gone haywire for the time being.
There we go. I'm back. I don't know what happened there.
It's because you tried to talk bad about LNG and they cut your mic off. They cut your mic off.
Yeah. Well, I tried to agree with you. It was very sad. I was all on the LNG hype train that game. But either way, this is where we're coming. Starting fresh. Game number 2. LNG here have got a composition where they can look to make some early game plays if they would like to. But this is the biggest problem that I've had with Maple and LNG, is his lack of roaming when he has the opportunity to do so. With this Zoe pick, you can look to crash this wave very, very quickly. And when you've got this early game Rek'Sai, you can make plays with Maple roaming, especially against this Kassadin. However, this is not Maple's style. He's been very lane-centric in his focus, and it's hurt LNG in the past.
See how it goes this second game around. Has got himself minion dematerializes on this Zoe, so inspiration, the secondary tree on the airy mid laner, while Doinb for safety, we're seeing with pretty much all Kassadins, is going to be this fleet footwork. So the usual, while the change in tempo needs to be talked about in the bottom lane, with light instead of lethal tempo itself, is going for that Hail of Blades Kalista.
Now will be able to trade very aggressively in this lane, especially against the Varus, who's got a relatively short range when it comes to AD carries. So you can see even Duan getting up there trying to give him an L whack. But watch these two junglers, both teetering down towards this bottom side, and Tian, when he can't help Doinb in the mid, oftentimes sends it towards Lwx and Crisp.
Finishing their final camp, now going back up on the Rek'Sai XX here as the same opportunity to start with the top side roam as well after that. But pushing in the bottom wave here for Light and Duan. Khan being cautious with a ward placed. XX is not done. FPX have a ward in Pixel Brush, but not here. The potential to die, very FPX-esque.
It's LNG who might be looking for that play. There you go. Ships passing the night. I don't think either spotted each other.
There's a ping going down from LNG. So I believe that Tian walked through. Duan's like, he's got to be here. A ward placed in the back there, and Duan will get spotted out. So Jungler's back away, and it's going to be back into base for Tian.
So the reason that Tian backed there and did a very short clear on the bottom side is they weren't actually 100% sure where XX started. He did a solo start on his Wolves, which meant that when he went down towards the bottom end of the map, neither laner had shown a delay in getting towards their wave. So FPX, fearful that with this push that is started by Light and Duan, they go for a dive on the bottom side. Tian stays to help them out.
We'll be getting pushed in, but here comes Tian towards Raptors. Maple has the exhaust, and that is just... Yeah, that makes that kind of impossible, doesn't it? What other summoner do you want? Well, he doesn't have one because he's already got one in his inventory. XX nearby as well. Scuttle started for Tian. Now, conflict arises. Or awaits. Peekaboo.
Khan has the push in the top lane though, so XX wasn't really able to do particularly much there for fear that Khan would roam down. So FPX pick up the scuttle, and we'll have pretty much junglers going back to where they want to go. Don't forget again, this favors FPX. They want a nice, slow, early game where they're not having to fight for it.
Do you want a Hysteristat? Hysteristat? That's it. I got it there eventually. I know QuickShot does his quick stats or whatever, and obviously it doesn't sound as good when I do it. But I brought a computer today, so it's very exciting that I can talk about Doinb's record on Kassadin. Now, he's played 2 games. He hasn't lost on this Kassadin, but more impressively, he has not died at all on his Kassadin. So track and see if we get a first death this game from LNG against Doinb. High expectations here on the mid laner place. Almost level 6 here on the Kassadin as well. Top lane half the way to 6-2, but pings are going down. Look at the roaming starting here.
Everyone's starting to congregate down towards this bottom river, realizing, hey look, Dragon's been up for 7 seconds and no one's taken it.
Duan's going to be spotted out here as Chris just walks through the mid lane. Angel, or rather Maple, excuse me, doesn't pay the respect. Someone else who does play the Kassadin quite successfully.
Oh, so a little bit hurtful since Maple got replaced by Angel, I'm just saying.
I mean, Angel was on the back burner for a while by Maple, so other way around, I think. But we're looking top here because Flandre's almost hit level 6, Khan the same. And XX is shadowing this for now, but backs away in the end.
I was wondering if they would actually try and make this play happen. Again, we were talking about Maple getting this roam out, has just pushed in mid. You had the setup there with XX moving. They could have had Maple get up there after Doinb just burned that teleport, but not quite able to make that play happen with the wave crashing. And again, this is the biggest gripe I have with LNG is their team play in the early game is not where it really should be. So getting this acceleration play that they need right now is going to be a bit more difficult.
Especially when for Maple, when he was on Suning last year, it was so characteristic of him to make early roams.
Yeah.
When we called them the global composition, we called them the ambush predators because of how much they were influencing other lanes of Suning. This time around, Maple bit stagnant in his own lane, but at least he has a CS lead by 10. At least he's found the trouble bubble onto Doinb. Is the first death there? No, but a better poke to follow through as the Dragon looks like it's a priority for a fight.
LNG should win out on this though. They've got the earlier game composition. Doinb
doesn't respect XX at this point. He's level 6 Kassadin and he's on the hunt.
Watch for Khan and Flandre. The TP angles for both of these guys could make or break this engagement. Doinb, I think it was a misclick, didn't quite hit onto XX, but FPX have pushed back LNG from this Dragon.
You can see how tanky he is just with Catalyst of Aeons, right? With the one part of this Rod of Ages that he will be starting. XX knows this is going on. All the tremor sensors in front of Pit. Doinb hold vision for now.
This is risky from FPX. They don't control this. Here comes a collapse.
Double TP, in fact, here. Doinb's going to jump on in. They poke down XX. There's the Dragon secured as Khan now in the back of the pit. Escaping here as a flash away used. Doinb flashing on top. They want to kill Light. Here comes World Ender Aatrox into the back. Khan goes. Light will survive until he does that one. But now on top of FPX, LNG want to take the fight. Doinb running away. Doesn't want his first death as he is ignited down. Flandre dealing with Lwx in the Death Realm. He smacks him. But now Doinb yet again wants to live on. No! First death denied! FPX's mid laner survived, and Khan is mega fed.
LNG didn't find the engage that they needed. XX couldn't get into the midst of FPX to knock them up. And Maple, he's just going to clear the wave, but that was 100% should have gone in favor of LNG. We said, look, Doinb wants to scale. Lwx isn't hitting much at the moment compared to Light. And even when we're getting this damage coming in from Maple, because LNG are chasing the platoon, they're not the ones in the lead. They're able to pick off Light, the FPX pick off Duan, and LNG will crumble as a result.
Saw Flandre's ulti onto Lwx, and I thought, yeah, that's good, but how's he going to get out? Watch it here. Oh, he's so close to dying.
The Triumph was pretty much all that saved them, but my word, that was close. 1-0-3 now for the Kassadin, 2-0-2 for Khan in the top lane. And FPX, the later scaling composition, find themselves an early lead.
And Doinb with an early lead once again. Now, it's not a triple kill, granted, but it is still so much for a Kassadin here, who fell behind 20 CS and is now getting turret plating alongside with the bottom lane of FPX.
It upsets me that it's the Kassadin that's moving first in these lanes. Maple had control of the early game lane and didn't try to move to help out his team. We talked about potentially working off of the crash the Flandre is putting down in the top lane. When XX was roaming up to there, Maple ends up backing away from that dragon pit. So then it's FPX who move in first.
Oh, Maple, hang on a minute. Don't walk that way. Khan just sweeping by. At least for LNG with this trade, they go towards the top side, they commit. They're still having a free time bot. But with the Rift Herald there, I think first turret could actually just go to LNG.
I think it should go to LNG just off of this push here, but still, you're happy as you can be for FPX. They just wanted to trade turrets, that's all that mattered. And Varus is a champion that does really well at doing just that. So it will barely go over to the side of LNG. You can see FPX have started to roam as well to get help on it. But this is the thing, is Doinb and Lwx the ones who are beneficiaries of all this gold because Chris backed. And in my eyes, it's a lot better for you to be getting this gold onto the likes of Doinb, onto Lwx, whereas it's been shared with XX, who's not really going to be able to have that gold usage in the later stages.
LNG behind 700 gold at this stage. We were talking before about Khan, and Khan picking up 2 kills in that fight. Plus now has 30 CS lead over Flandre, who was zoned away from about 3-4 waves just down in that bottom lane. Doinb's caught up a little bit with CS, and now Will with the blue buff adding that extra 4. And Lwx himself behind in CS, and that's really the only telltale of LNG holding something in this game. Individual leads that could still go somewhere when we get those first items across the board.
They've got to start making these plays happen, though.
Yep.
This is a kill advantage towards FPX. They're the ones that have got decent vision control as well. You can see in River at the back of their own jungle here where Doinb is backing. This is giving a little bit more of a problem for LNG to try and push forward and get some of these turret plates that they would have loved.
I obviously don't play Kassadin much, or ever, but that skin's back is just so like, you know, Count Dracula, right?
Yeah.
The music, I didn't know it did that.
Yeah, it's a great backing animation. He like slams himself into the coffin. But
it's a shame we didn't see Doinb's Kassadin at Worlds. You know, we could have had a Kassadin skin as Duan comes close. Lwx and Chris.
You can't let a Kassadin skin get in the way of true love for the Malphite.
Malphite, yeah, and hey, we're seeing Malphite. We saw it from 369 yesterday. Flandre on our screen has played Malphite alongside his Kiana top. So,
yes, for anyone who doesn't know, Doinb decided to go with Malphite because it's his wife's main.
Oh, really?
And now collectively,
is that
turned into a Panto. Yeah, it is.
Is that actually why?
That is actually why.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. It's adorable.
Such a wife buff. Yeah, okay. Khan might be dead. Knockup's there. They found a pretty fed member. And a shutdown goes to XX. Unfortunate doesn't go to Maple, but FPX slipping up.
Find the pick just before the dragon spawns, so at least LNG should have control here to get one of their own. Now, though, trying to see if they can pick off any of FPX who are still wandering around. So this is what we needed from LNG. Get the dragon, get some turret plates for themselves, control of this mid. That's a really big pick for LNG.
Really big. I mean, Flandre now gets solo time in lane to catch up, where Khan would have been matching him and he would have to back away. Maple now gets free roam. As you mentioned, the dragon there for the taking, easily taken too by XX.
And
Gold now
they
even.
collapse onto the bottom lane. You can see Mordekaiser has prepared this tower earlier. They can start to get through this one for themselves, although, as I say that, it looks like they will end up committing. I think you're definitely better off trying to get a few more of these plates in the next minute.
At least more gold to Flandre too as well, importantly. Doinb in a side lane himself though, and
Yeah,
while we have that
problem.
ticking time bomb, yeah, we got to consider all the factors. There's Chains of Corruption misses Dagda. Don't know where that one went from Lwx, but now FPX have to back away.
This is the problem that we see with teams like LNG versus our top teams. It's the decisiveness of their calls. They don't decide quick enough to go for the bottom lane turret, so now you're giving time to Doinb to get this top lane plates and answer for what Flandre's push has been. You don't end up moving across to defend your mid lane turret fast enough, so more plates go over to Lwx. This is the problem that we're having, where even when in a game we expect LNG to kind of be in control, FPX are keeping even.
There goes the turret though for Flandre. Well, yep, Doinb's just going to make the trade here.
Can he get it before the 14-minute mark though? Yeah, he will.
Yeah, he will. He's all right. 460 gold just to him alone. He's already got the Rod of Ages, started stacking it. Now, remember, Doinb is the innovator of builds. All builds. Rod of Ages picked up. Who knows what comes next? He's already an item up on Maple, essentially. And with all that gold into his back pocket, despite the CS advantage, he's going to be halfway to his next.
And more than likely, we'll still be going back, though, to pick up the likes of that tier, go into the Seraph's Embrace, but we'll have to see. And there you go, turret plates. The
Galore.
team that wanted to scale, that wanted to not have too much pressure put on them in the early game, is the one that's coming out with the turret plates, picking up 12 for themselves there. That's just, and look how much gold has gone into the Kassadin. It's disgusting.
1146. That is insanity. Yeah. You're right, it is the tier, but he's also gotten the Lost Chapter. Yeah. That's called an Acceleration Gate. It's just not Jace here for Doinb. There's 3 minutes till this next Dragon coming up. Doinb stacking up, ready to get mid 2. And at 15 minutes, you can see FPX are on the hunt once again. And looking to push forward.
You can see everyone is starting to group here from LNG. They realize, oh boy, FPX are here.
Light flashes immedially.
That's like impressive.
That's like walking in the street, you see Arnold Schwarzenegger and you're like, oh my god, he's huge.
That is such an obscure reference.
I don't know, Governor
Have you
of California.
seen him recently? Is that what happened?
I have not seen him, no. He's staying indoors with his dog.
True.
You should look at his Twitter, it's great. His dogs are fantastic. So is DMO's dog, as you would have seen on my Twitter today as well. But hey, flush down from light, because Doinb went boo. And now, we still got to time it towards Dragon. Now we've got a move here from LNG, more importantly, towards Rift Herald.
LNG looking to secure this one, but we're starting to see that FPX don't like giving these objectives over without a fight, although they might be a bit late to the party here.
At 4K, FPX might be in trouble here. Chris walks in, QSS away with an early buy, and Rift Herald is secured by LNG, yes, just confirming. By XX on the back of that play. Doinb tries to push him away. And that's an advantage. When LNG are falling behind, getting an objective like that could also be a really big move.
And it may give them the opportunity to try and crack open this mid lane turret. That's where the crux of LNG's problems are coming from, is FPX have bolstered around their mid turret to keep that fortification alive. But if that falls, it's like opening up that valley into the that mountain pass into the next valley.
Yep.
So you can start to get the wards in on the opposite side of the jungle, control where FPX are moving, and look to pick them off with the likes of Maple, with XX's Tremor Sense, and find these team fights that can work.
But I was a bit confused in that last fight, because I noticed Crisp has just run towards a QSS. Like really early QSS here on the Braum. Used against the death sentence of Duan, who himself has gone for the redemption.
So the reason that we see Crisp going for this QSS is there's a lot of CC or single target CC that Crisp will need to tank up. The Thresh hooks, the Zoe bubbles. This is just, okay, I can take this, pop up my Braum shield, and if there's a follow-up hook or follow-up CC from either Maple or Duan, I can still escape away from that.
You know what that was reminding me of? I know we just heard the vampire thing again from Doinb's recall. It reminds me of Phantom of the Opera music. Have you seen that?
I haven't. I was having this conversation with Munchables the other day. Really weird, it's come up twice now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he cultured enough to see it? That's a real question.
He was singing a song from it, so yeah.
Oh, a cultured man, a savant like myself. Well, FPX getting poked down here. Rift Herald through the middle lane. It's not going to die, but all they have to do is walk up one more time.
Oh,
they
really?
leave it. LNG, though, still want to pick. They're onto Tian. Maple's coming close. He's got the Luden's Echo, but Khan looking for a flank.
He will get spotted by the Tremor Sense, though. There's the connection, but Are they going to follow up?
They will, because Duan's going to find Death Sentence flashed away from by Khan. LNG are on the hunt once again, but with that flash, with that damage going down on Khan, they start the Dragon.
Doinb still pushing in his top lane, though. FPX are all in on this acceleration play for the Kassadin. They're fine to give over this Dragon. It's only the second Dragon for LNG.
He's got better
but Doinb is farming. Doinb's getting gold, experience, getting to that level 16 mark. He's the highest level in the game right now.
This reminds me of Top Esports yesterday, right? Where for Top Esports versus Rogue Warriors, almost lost it, where it was like 369 on Vladimir. They left him on an island, and Rogue Warriors were concerned with the rest of the map, but then in comes this Fed hyper carry, and like Doinb over the wall, now he's an issue. He gets trouble bubbled, he flashes in the end, and Duan can't land the Fate's Call into the ultimate immediately. Doinb gets his kill, and Khan joins the backside as well. Doinb's into the death realm, remember. The first death, no, he can't realm warm out. Over to the wall, Flandre's coming out, and now into the rest of FPX. Doinb jumps on, and this is a disaster. Maple and Light don't want to die like Duan. They'll get Jarvan on the end, but FPX win out.
And Doinb just picked up a few more kills for himself as well. 4-0-3 this Kassadin. XX goes in aggressive without the follow-up from LNG. And FPX once again find themselves in the lead.
All I care about is whether Doinb dies, to be quite honest. In every fight I'm worrying, I'm going, is this going to be it? But 4-0-3, he survives yet again. And as he jumped into that fight, LNG runs scattered. They found a pick. And you thought, good, LNG yet again. But we'll see how it played out at the start here.
We do get the hook from Duan, but Doinb comes over the wall with pressure on towards Light, onto Maple, which means that they're forced to deal with this Kassadin. Terra goes down. XX aggresses too quickly. Great Glacial Fissure there to push back the rest of LNG. And then it's easy for this rotation to come through on FPX. Who's putting pressure on the back line? Is it Doinb or Khan? Because either way, Flandre is not surviving as long as they are.
It must have been just like outside of the wall. It must have just been outside the Mordekaiser Death Realm wall. That's why he went over but technically stayed in the same spot. Anyway.
So we already had the pantomime moment for Doinb's wife and picking the Malphite skin. Do we just go full pantomime and watch Doinb with the ooh every time he goes into a fight for dying? Or how do you want to work this hysterics? This is your moment now.
No, I'm glad. I don't know. I thought you were going somewhere else with that conversation. I got really worried. I'm like, we're not going to do anything like that to Doinb. No. Anyway, I'm sure chat will know what I mean. They know what I mean. They know. They definitely know. Hey, but we're at a point where for LNG, to save me from setting myself in a hole, are only down 1,600 gold at 20 minutes. For the way this game has gone, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. And I know there's still a ticking time bomb, but this would be what they need.
Doinb is in the bottom lane, now backing. Will be able to finish off his Zhonya's, I believe, before this fight kicks off.
He's still backing away. As you mentioned, the teleport available now coming through from base with the speed boost. LNG are low in this pit. I don't know about this one. On top of Light, he gets half health. Chris finds the knockup as well. The Fate's Call to save the support, but FPX, they've already won this fight as Duan launches himself in. Box goes down, but now it's way too easy. Forward he goes. Doinb doesn't care about dying, and with the Zhonyas, he'll secure his life yet again. A double kill over to Lwx. Light on the run. And Tian doesn't even need to flash. He's like, let him go. The deed is done.
We've already sent the fear into him. FPX will force back LNG. They will turn towards the Baron. Maple, you can try your best to steal this or pick off some people, but it's not looking likely.
They spotted him out. Doinb wants to go in on this Zoe over the wall. He will. Ignite is down. Wow. We're not even over 22 minutes, and Kassadin's hit late game.
That is disgusting. Level 13, doesn't have the level 16 yet. 3 items completed for this Kassadin, and every time Doinb does this.
Stop giving him this champion, honestly. Dagger, your turn.
Well, look, it's self-explanatory here. Chris puts down the Glacial Fissure, forces the early Fate's Call at a Light, and from that moment, there's very little that LNG can do. Doinb's running amok in these fights. Light, look at the positioning here, is completely zoned out because he's got to fear Khan, Doinb, and as well these chains of corruptions from Lwx.
Look at the beer buff that FPX just got. I mean, Harbin tonight, boys. At this point, FPX hold all the cards in this game. 5k gold lead at 23 minutes.
And FPX will certainly be celebrating if they pick this up. It'll push them to that 9th win in the streak and push them almost certainly into that playoff spot with their 10th win on the board.
But it's not done just yet. Duan looking for a pick. This could really stop the momentum, but now the chain onto Flandre. They just found him. He's bursted down, caught out through the mid lane. Doinb wants a bit more into Duan. He'll take it. On top, it's the purple mist, and it's toxic to LNG. Over the wall. Do you think he cares? It's Doinb on Kassadin. It ain't going to be a pentakill, but boy, oh boy, he'll take the triple.
He is taking everything. Doinb is 9-0-5. We're 23 damn minutes into this game. There is no letting up from FPX.
This is the FPX we expected coming into this series. And LNG now left with no members alive. Inhibitor's going to be cracked open and Dagda. Knowing FPX, they'll keep going.
They are definitely going to keep going. Doinb is the only ultimate they really care about, but they've got all the Lwx's to set up Doinb.
All right, first Nexus turret here. Could just be over in 24 minutes. They're going to work on the other one at the same time. And Doinb jumping in. Now wants more blood. But the Nexus exposed. The target found. Doinb with another one. Is he getting low? That answer is no. He's at full health. He's jumped on top of the fountain. He doesn't want to die. Not just yet. He's got a perfect KDA to uphold. And FPX securing seconds here will dominate LNG.
The 9th win on the board for FPX. I misspoke earlier on. They are on their 9 streak, their 9th win, and 2nd place confirmed for them off of that victory. And you gotta feel like playoffs guaranteed, but I feel like FPX are going for the skies.
They're going for the skies yet again, and well, a great way to say that. Remember that it was, I believe, summer, 13-2. Yep. They ended up finishing. They're now 9-2.
I think they're even 13-1 in summer, because
I
think the only team 14-1, and the only team they lost to was IG. That was the thing, yeah. And now we see them again. They lost to IG here, but they've looked incredible since this week wheel.
They really have, and this comes back to it where this game, less mistakes. I think with FPX, they took this one a bit more direct and improved from game one, because game one FPX wasn't great. Game one FPX was forced against the wall by LNG. Game 2, FPX forced LNG against the wall, and they never let them move from that spot.
But that was the point, was FPX were on the later scaling composition. We didn't expect them to come in and just beat around LNG for so long. It was constantly trade, and this is why I love watching FPX, is their macro game is so strong, where you think, okay, we're going to get them here, we're going to trade this tower, but suddenly Kassadin for Doinb is off in the side lane, split pushing just as hard as you are, picking up turrets. He was moved down to the bottom lane even with Lwx to secure that gold as well.
24-minute game, Kassadin did 21k damage. You can see why in the LPL, people are really confident to pick this one up into, like, oh, even if we're going to lose lane, it's fine. We skirmish all the time in the LPL. Let's take that risk.
And we've seen these successes come in now. We saw for Vici, it was Forge picking up the win on Kassadin for E-Star in game number 1. Doinb now has played it several times. There's been a lot of big Kassadin Shie nearly able to do it for DMO in one of their series, but not quite. But you can still see that against teams that are slower closing out, are not quite able to pick up the pace in the way you'd like, Kassadin works wonders in dictating the pace once we get to this point.
I mean, compliments to the draft of FPX. Also want to throw a special shout out to LNG. I think in this series they gave me more than I was expecting.
Definitely.
Game 1 especially, despite, you know, the fight going wrong and having such a lead and the ability to close out the game, make this a 3-game series. I think LNG are not a playoff team, but in summer, I don't know. With this development, that could be a very different story.
And it'll be interesting to see, because with COIO, as we were talking about coming in, he's clearly put work into this team. We weren't expecting him to put up that fight against FPX. And what he can do with them between now and then the end of summer is what I'm really curious to see.
Yeah. I'm looking at LNG. I'm just looking at like the drafting. I know you're talking a lot about the Zoe in game and you know, kind of what we saw. For Maple, it's his most played champion. It is his comfort at the moment. And Maple we saw last year on his comfort Silas. It's just played so much more than other champions because he finds that one champion, he tunnels in, he plays it one hell of a lot. And he did show us a little bit in that game. It felt like he was the only person who could actually threaten FPX at that point. But you're right, like, you know, helping out the other laners of LNG, FPX were there first in all cases.
That's the problem with LNG as a whole, is they're much more individually focused. We call them the opportunists because it's kind of, they'll stumble across an opportunity to take something or find a pick or make a play. It never feels like they're coordinated in the early game, whereas we look at FPX as the 4-man dive bot, the 3-man dive top, they've got these set plays that they like to run with. Whereas LNG feels a little bit like they're all just bottled together and maybe we can make something work, but there's no guarantee.
So let's talk about progress here for LNG. Their strength of schedule is the hardest in the LPL left remaining. They got EDG, RNG, WE, and IG coming up. And then if we look at FPX, while we talk about schedule, because at this point I'm willing to say that LNG, to make playoffs, need to win every single series coming up and then hope that teams like WE, OMG, even like if JDG drop a little bit, but
that's not looking like
they need to rely on a lot.
It's really a struggle for them now, and
absolutely.
especially look when we talked about the 9 being the magic number. This is based off of last year as well, where we did have one less team, so even that extra team can start to mix up that number. So it could be pushed higher, it could be pushed lower, but it is a lot more difficult for LNG.
Do you want to talk about FPX and their ability to maintain this top 2 position?
Yeah.
Vici, EDG. Now that's maybe a little bit difficult. We'll see. LGD Rogue Warriors. Well, that should be fine. Top esports on Monday, and I know the other day we were talking about like top esports for FPX being that final game or series that will decide where FPX sit and if top esports are a top 2 team themselves.
Especially now that eStar have dropped down a notch. This